So people who've been to these before know that we were doing a West Yorkshire dashboard. I've moved it now, and it's going to be not just a West Yorkshire dashboard, because we had people from Stockport asking about Greater Manchester, and I'm sure other people in other parts of the country want their local authorities. So we started this back in March, and like Leslie Ann, this has changed multiple times across the year as things have gone on. So we've tried to have a local authority focus, which limits what you can show because not everything's published by local authority. So can I advance my slide? Yes, I can. So this is what it looks like at the moment. If you were to go to that link, I'm sure someone from inequalities can put the link in the chat. I'm using now color coding that came from Jenny Tennyson at IDIHQ. She'll talk about that, I'm sure, in the next talk. And that comes from California, although everywhere's purple now, so maybe we have a different way of color coding it. It's rejigged around this dashboard, as various people have said they prefer various things in different orders. So at the moment, the daily cases per 100,000 is a graph at the top. I'm generating those from the PHE API. I'm not doing it live anymore because I realized sometimes that API has gone down. I decided I also wanted to keep a record of their data with time. So I'm now copying the local authority output for every local authority into a GitHub repository and saving it. So the Git history is there as well. And then I'm generating static SVGs for people who like that sort of thing. If you want an SVG for your local authority updated daily, then there's a URL for that. Anyway, I've then added in restrictions that comes from, let me move on to the next slide. So populations comes from ONS estimates for England, and there was a Dropbox file for other parts of the UK that I was using. Cases comes from the Public Health England API, deaths from ONS weekly death data, because unfortunately the PHE API doesn't have deaths by local authority, at least it didn't last time I checked. And restrictions I'm now adding in from the House of Commons library, create a CSV file. They also create a very nice map. So there's the PHE API, that's the ONS daily death data, weekly death data. Each file gets bigger and bigger with time because I just put all the deaths since the start in, noted by week. And then that's the House of Commons coronavirus restrictions map, which is quite nice, showing you your local restrictions. And in the show more link at the top there, there's a CSV file that you can download, which is what I'm using. I'm not sure if they've updated it with the central belt of Scotland restrictions. Anyway, this is the GitHub repo. So there's a data directory where I'm storing JSON files that I'm making for each local authority now. That's driving the dashboard. So I'm trying to bring in those different sources and put them into one place as JSON. I mean, hopefully it's vaguely human readable for those who aren't techie and codey. But you can see it's split into sections for restrictions, deaths, and cases. And then I've put the case data. Now the cases are using the specimen date because that's all that's provided by local authority from PHE. But it's probably the best thing to use anyway. And then, as I said, because it's on Git, there's a commit history, so you can see what's changed. So yesterday, this was the update yesterday, you can see how many days of data they've modified. And not all of those, so the red ones are things that have been removed, and the green ones have been things that have been put in. And if you look at the dates, you can see not every day has had a change. But you can see they've gone back to the 21st of September to add in or take out, in some cases, case numbers. Let me switch to sharing my browser. Is that one? Yes. So yeah, as I said, there's the GitHub repo. If I go to the dashboard, by default it shows West Yorkshire because that's where we are. But you can customize it if you can see the URL there. If you put the local authority codes, and I realize that's not helpful for people, but you can construct a link and then just use that link in the future. So if you put in a local authority codes, it will create you a custom local authority dashboard. So here I've just done the South Wales coast from Swansea to Newport along the coast there, so you can see them. And if I just scroll down, so they're the case numbers, the dotted lines, the dashed lines that are horizontal are the different levels that are up at the top here. Minimal, moderate, substantial, and widespread. I think Vale of Glamorgan was the only one that wasn't purple yesterday, but it's now gone to purple today. There's the restrictions. It doesn't cope with Llanelli because that's not a local authority, but everywhere else in the country is done by local authority, so that's fine. And then we've got total cases per 100,000, the weekly cases, what change that is on the previous week, the weekly cases per 100,000, the weekly deaths, as of week 39 there from the ONS, the total COVID-19 deaths, and then the total of all deaths, and then just the sort of ratio of those two to find the percentage of COVID-19 related deaths compared to all deaths, because that can vary as well. And then just at the bottom, so that people know what population numbers I'm using for the 100,000s, there at the bottom. If people have different ideas about population estimates, I was using the 2021s from ONS, but they were England and I think Wales, and so other parts may vary of the UK. And there's Scottish major cities with big populations. Now, unfortunately, because I'm using the ONS deaths, obviously these figures are all empty at the bottom, which is a shame. But I'm trying to pull in data from several different sources, and as Leslie Ann said, it's difficult keeping on top of things, especially when things break and people don't have the right data for some reason, and then things disappear. All right, I think that's me.